Hello everybody, Dave Neal here. We've got some Bachelor Nation news. As you guys know, we've been keeping track of this Colton Underwood story for the better part of the last year. If you're not familiar, Colton Underwood put a tracking device underneath the trunk of his ex-girlfriend's car and then harassed her with fake phone numbers and was seen in her alleyway at her parents' house late at night. It was a big issue. Of course, recently he comes out of the closet as gay and says he was kind of holding on to the last hopes of heterosexuality, which was repairing that relationship. It's been a big story. We're going to jump right into it. He's got a Netflix docuseries coming out, and according to this title, the Bachelor Star Colton Underwood's new Netflix series will address Cassie Randolph's situation. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm on the side of conversation. I'm on the side of talking things out, explaining where you're coming from, even if it was from a dark, lonely, sad, and wrong place. The thing we can all hope for is that Cassie Randolph has found whatever solace, whatever serenity she can from this situation. Colton has pretty much hidden in interviews behind the idea that him and Cassie have an agreement that they won't be talking about this, which I believe, this is my opinion, is that he paid her to end this, to not talk about it anymore. My guess, low six figures. Just a guess. Cassie Randolph, represented by Brian Friedman, powerful attorney at law. Brian Friedman is an entertainment lawyer, and he also represents Chris Harrison in that 8-figure deal. Some are estimating to be between $30 to $70 million on his departure from Bachelor Nation. Now, Cassie Randolph has not spoken at all about this scenario. She was blindsided when it came to finding out about his coming out, and I'm assuming the documentary that was attached to it. Now, this documentary was in the works before he came out. He did not run it by her. They've got mutual friends within management that could have made this scenario. I don't know. However you feel about it, she's tethered to this situation because of the stalking that went down. Of course, Colton to the mainstream media had been introduced as a big coming out story because it was a big coming out story. One that can't be told without the sort of purity culture and the gripping onto his heterosexual sort of desire or desire to be heterosexual that existed. And like I said, with that comes the stalking and harassing his ex. Now, I made this video months ago. It's got 290,000 views, 23 and a half minutes of reading the text messages he sent her. They're damning, they're dirty, they're triggering. It's rough, guys. But this is something that we would hope would be addressed kind of in a line item way. This is one of those things, please address the stalking, please address the tracking device, all these different things. And it pretty much the only people that can defend him say, oh, Cassie wants to move on. I don't believe that to be the case, and until I hear otherwise, I think it's important for all victims to understand that you're not alone, that this does happen, and that there's this wild dynamic, and there needs to be a way to deal with it and set boundaries in a way that you kind of keep this at bay. I'm not blaming the victims by any means. There's also a scenario in which everyone who's experiencing toxic love, also in the closet. All these different scenarios could help people before they commit these acts of stalking. You know, I've always said we benefit from the fact that everyone's trying the best with the information that they have. How could somebody who's charitable, God-fearing, seems like a nice guy do such a thing? And it's important to unravel those Christmas lights and figure out this tangled mess. So these are actual text messages that he sent to her. He sent this from the fake number, pretending to be somebody else. And then, of course, let's see what this is. Oh, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you guys what Tayshia's dad had to say about it. Of course, Tayshia, a contestant on Colton Underwood's season. We'll talk about what he thought about Colton at the time, which, you know, we'll play that after. But what's important to this story right now is that we're getting information that they will discuss Cassie Randolph in the documentary. My hopes are with her permission. My hopes are that she's at least given permission for him to share this side of the story. If he's going to share his side of the story, she is rightfully able to share hers. If there is some sort of NDA, some clause that they signed, all I can say is whatever he decided to pay her, it's almost null and void. It's almost null and void if again, I'd love to hear from my attorney friends out there. Abby, call me, let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, if he's going to sign, hypothetically speaking, if he's signing or agreeing to pay Cassie to not talk about this, and then he ends up monetizing it, I think that sort of negates the contract. So anyway, let's quickly read through this article written today by Elizabeth Kietkowski. Love a good Polish name there. The Bachelor star Colton Underwood's new Netflix series will address Cassie Randolph's situation. Bachelor alum Colton Underwood's friend Gus Kenworthy has revealed that Colton's situation with his ex-girlfriend Cassie Randolph will be part of what viewers will see addressed on his new Netflix reality series. Gus, a British-American freestyle skier and Olympian, will star alongside Colton when their Netflix docu-reality series premieres this fall. The show is expected to feature Colton's new journey as an out and proud gay man, considering the former Bachelor star had been in the closet since high school before publicly announcing he's gay in April on Good Morning America. Also, on the Good Morning America interview, did not address the stalking and harassing of his ex. Glazed over it. Journalism, go get him. When he came out, the new show was also leaked, and it took things out of context. The information that was leaked wasn't even necessarily correct, and so Colton and I both took a lot of heat online that I felt like was sort of unnecessary, Gus, 29, explained to Us Weekly in a video interview. And some of it I don't even disagree with. People had qualms and wanted an explanation of his situation with his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. I think that that's totally fair and valid that people took issue with that, and I think that the show will address that. Well, here's the problem. When you don't get ahead of a story and then people have rumors about what might be going down, you lost the chance to define the story. You lost the chance to define, this is what we're going to be doing on the docuseries. We're going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. Chances are they weren't going to talk about it. And then it's because of you guys out there that showed your outrage that this show would even happen without addressing domestic violence. And again, domestic violence doesn't just mean someone has a black eye, so they go to the cops. Domestic violence is stalking. It's leaving someone with emotional scars that sometimes, depending on the scenario, can be far worse than physical scars that might heal easier. Okay? One's not necessarily worse than the other. Everyone carries that around differently. The point is that needs to be addressed, and who knows if it would have been, but now it will be, thanks to you guys and for the people online that signed petitions and talked about it and said, this is not okay. We address this. We don't throw money at a situation and it just goes away. Unlike the Bachelor producers who did that with Chris Harrison, but that's another story. What started out as an amicable split turned nasty when Cassie accused Colton of trying to monetize their breakup as well as stalking and harassing her, which resulted in Cassie filing a restraining order against a former NFL player in September 2020, filed by a police report in October of last year. Colton allegedly put a tracking device in Cassie's car, sent her unsettling text messages, and would stand outside her apartment or her parents' house very late at night. Colton, and of course, this has been confirmed by Cassie's siblings, and also allegedly he's confirmed that the tracking device was his. I mean, it would be very, if he didn't put the tracking device on the car, it should be very easy to prove that. Tracking devices come with a paper trail. Where was it bought? Whose was it? All that. Very easy to prove. Clearly, they didn't want this to go to court and have to hear, actual people, under oath talking about this. Colton later told multiple press outlets Cassie ultimately dropped the restraining order after they were able to reach an agreement in private that addressed Cassie's concerns. And of course, Colton released that statement. So he's just controlled the narrative the whole way through. And you just have to know, Cassie didn't hire Brian Friedman, powerful attorney. She didn't hire him because he was just the guy that was laying around. She got the best of the best. So clearly deals were made in the background. But of course, this was all done before he came out of the closet and decided to make a TV show monetizing his journey, which tragically she's a part of. In addition to Colton and Cassie drama, Gus teased that fans will learn all about Colton's journey on their Netflix show. He spoke to a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community during his coming out process to try and get perspective and a better understanding of the community that he was joining. And that is not just me. It's not just cisgendered white gay men. He talked to a lot of people out there. And this is what they got a lot of crap for because, it's like, all right, so you're a good-looking cisgendered white guy who wants to come out. Great. That's nice. You're going to be rich. You're going to monetize it. Great. Well, what about everyone else that had to fight blood, sweat, and tears, go through epidemic, go through cultures where they were being raided by police and in crazy amounts of violence were happening. Like, oh, nice that you're gonna just have a Netflix show, put a bow on it, and be great. So I understand the anger that other people may have that he's getting that platform. Given Colton has received heat since coming out as gay, Gus apparently believes it's not fair for people to be hypercritical of him. everybody's coming out was difficult in some way, shape, or form. It sort of feels like you're drowning sometimes. And then you get through that and you climb up the ladder, and I think people are too quick to pull up the ladder afterwards. Gus said he and Colton randomly met 4 years ago when taping a podcast in LA. We met there and then followed on Instagram. So, okay, that's the whole backstory. The other thing is Colton did a Variety interview with, is it Erica Wagmeister? I might have her first name wrong. And they said that he basically came out of the closet because he was being blackmailed by someone who had photos of him at a gay-friendly spa. Of course, I want to believe that those sources have been sort of, vetted, but I don't know. I don't know if, he's already showed, I mean, it's just right here. He made up this, right here. He made up this person. He created a fake phone number and fabricated text messages to control that narrative. Now we're supposed to believe that he was being blackmailed. I don't know, guys. I guess anyone could have said it, anyway. We won't know. We won't know. And I'm supposed to trust Variety that they've corroborated this story. But honestly, I don't. And she did a great job writing that story, but I don't necessarily trust it until I see it with my two eyes because we've already been misled once. So anyway, that's that. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, and I'll play for you guys this quick clip here of Tayshia's dad. He was on the podcast. What the heck's the name of this podcast? The one with Brian and Mike. By the way, they have just such beautiful voices, all of them. But he went on the podcast, and this is Bachelor Nation approved, so you're not going to get too much dirt here. But he talks about being the father of Tayshia and what he thought of Colton on the first impression. Let's have a listen.
What's the BS rater like when you guys had met Colton for Tayshia?
Man,
You can be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just tell you guys, right? This is the podcast. So, yeah, my BS radars even went off even when he was here. In what way? They'll all tell you. Tayshia will tell you. It's just like, there's just no, I don't want to talk bad about anybody. Yeah. But just to be real, I was like, no, there's something wrong here. Something wrong here.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it at that, right? And then and she's like, well, Dad, it's easy to say now after the fact. I was like, no. And then I would tell her sister too. She's like, Dad, you completely, totally called it. But I didn't want to tell Tayshia during that time. I told her brother, I told her sister, told my wife, and then, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a.
Sorry, my mic was off there. I was having a nut. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with. He said something was wrong there. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with being gay. Of course, we're all created equally. We're all able to love whoever we want to love. At least that's what we should strive for, right? What was wrong is that there was the BS meter going on, saying, "Hey, this show's about a heterosexual love connection, and I'm just not seeing it here." That's what he means when he says wrong. I don't want that to be taken out of context. I think we all understand. We're pretty good at critical thinking, right?
A father's intuition. I mean, my father-in-law, to some other men, he was like, yeah, the ends don't match up. Like from the get-go, he just wasn't feeling the connection, not only between him and the other man, but between the other man and their daughter. So right. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Brian. Yeah. I'm sorry, Desmond.
No, it's good. You're spot on, man. It's a trip. You could kind of, from a father's standpoint, you could pick up on some of those things. Plus, because I'm older too, right? And then, so being seasoned, then you start to look at some of these young men and whatnot. I had my own, Brian, I necessarily didn't see your season too much, but Mike, I saw yours.
Oh, Lord.
I was like,
all right, so it's a good conversation. I'm not going to get in any farther. Clearly, he dances around the topic of Bill Colton, but he clearly told Tayshia, hey, I told you. And she goes, oh, hindsight is 2020. He goes, no, I told your sister too. I told you beforehand. And look, Billy Eichner also made the joke to Colton saying, hey, I know you're in the closet or whatever. But again, I don't even weigh that with too much I take that with a grain of salt because it's an easy and sort of hacky trope for like a gay comedian to be like, oh, like you're in the closet, you're gay with me. And listen, I mean, I'm a stand-up comic. I see it all the time. It's like, oh, there's a common denominator in the comedy world with like talking about sexuality, talking about like, oh, I'm not gay, but and now there's terms, they call it queer baiting, which would be if you're monetizing that, and I guess there's a difference between someone who's like queer baiting in a movie where it's like they're clearly or like The Bachelor was guilty of queer baiting when they fabricated a love story between two men that clearly didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like they just made it up. They just clipped it together. In this scenario, we're talking more about the fact that people go, hey, I just had a hunch, and it's sometimes hunches are right, sometimes hunches are wrong. In this scenario, clearly it's easier to see in hindsight being like, oh, yeah, okay, that's So anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. And a part of me is it's good if they're going to address the situation. That comes with pressure that people put on them to say, hey, no, you don't pass go and collect 200 until you talk about this. And it's not to drudge up any old wounds. It's to shine light on dark places because sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. I think we all know that. We've been preaching that and shouting it from a rooftop. Whatever your darkest secrets are, whatever the problems you have in life, when you just shine sunlight on it and get it off you, you release yourself from all of these layers of the exoskeleton of like rigidity. And of course, Colton has that. He's going to be unpacking these layers as he comes out as gay. He's going to be unpacking the layers of different trauma that existed. Colton is a victim of a society, Illinois, his hometown, that wasn't a comfortable place for somebody to be gay. Cassie's a victim of Colton's stalking and harassing her for whatever reason he did. Now, in most cases, short of some psychopathic serial killer that doesn't feel pain, is that psychopathic or sociopathic? You tell me. I'm sorry if I mislabeled these terms here. But the idea is that in most cases, people commit crimes or do problems thinking that they're doing the best, thinking that they're doing something good, but they're hurting other people. They're casting a large wake. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form what Colton Underwood did was right. It wasn't. Clearly, it was illegal. You're not allowed to place a tracking device on somebody else's person, and that is a penalty in California up to 365 days in prison. So he would have been facing prison time if someone really wanted to come after him for this, okay? That's some heavy, heavy stuff right there. Now, with that said, was he feeling so much guilt that he wanted to make sure that she wasn't the one, so he thought she was going to an ex's house and he wanted to prove it just for, who knows? It doesn't make it right. But we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. If we hear it from his mouth, if we just hear that, you came out, you did it on national TV. Doesn't it feel good to just be your authentic self? Well, just authentically put that in the past, get all the truth out there, and move forward. I think he'll be embraced by more people than not if that's the case, including earning a little bit of my respect back, because in the end, he lived a lie for decades about his sexuality, and he's still living a lie by not talking about what happened. So by not talking about it, you're essentially lying because you're not sharing the truth here. So the point's going to be, get that out there, and then maybe that frees Cassie to move on, and other victims can understand that there is a way to learn and grow from even tragic mistakes that you've made in the past. All right, folks, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Patreon.com/thesap. I have extra content over there. And thank you guys so much for everyone who has liked and subscribed and all the new people out there. I got a great video I just made about Connor from Bachelorette Katie Thurston's season. Played some of his music. He's a really great musician. Go check out that video. And more content coming. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.